Michigan beating Alabama in the ReliaQuest Bowl. Really, the best is that my marriage was able to survive a
Yeah.
third house divided matchups in our 5 years of
Two and
marriage.
one. You're 2-1, right?
2-1, yes. And the only one we were at in person, Alabama beat Michigan the year that we got married. So I'm not going to these games in person ever
Very
again.
smart.
I'm just going to watch on TV. But look, anytime they get a chance to match these two brands up, they do so. And look, we talked about this game. All the All-Americans, all the first-round picks that Michigan's going to have, they were in a different situation where they actually have more potential first-round picks than Alabama in this particular matchup. They all sat out. Meanwhile, all the guys for Alabama are going. Jalen Milroe played, and we thought, hey, this is going to be a springboard for Kalen DeBoer into 2025. And it was as ugly as it could possibly be early. Alabama had more turnovers than yards at one point before halftime, and you saw the explosiveness right there before the half, and it looked like, okay, Alabama's going to come back. But this Wink Martindale defense, even with the backups in there, and I mean, they played their tail off. They fought, man, for 4 quarters. Michigan, it really has something special going, because I think from a personnel standpoint, you're not going to see them be any worse than they were these past 2 games they've played, and that's 2 wins over top 15 teams while giving up fewer than 15 points to each of them. I mean, they might finish the year ranked here.
Well, I wonder what the odd. If you'd have told me that Michigan ended the season beating Ohio State and Alabama, I would say, oh my God, how did Sharon Moore win the national championship without a quarterback? Like, not that they went 8-5?
Yeah.
Is that what they finished?
Yeah.
You end the season beating Ohio State on the road and Alabama in Tampa. And you go 8-5. That's an incredible down year after winning an.
And you kept every big time trophy in Ann Arbor. You beat Michigan State. You beat your biggest rival. You kept the brown jug there. I mean, we forget now that Michigan lost 4 out of 5 in the middle of this season, got blown out by Texas early in the year, and somehow it's the greatest 8-5 a coach has ever had in college football history.
And you got the number 1 player, like, apparently ever in the history of the world coming in at quarterback. But Blaine, I know you got another best, but on this note, do you have Alabama as one of your worst?
Yeah, Alabama's not worth poverty.
Like,
I mean, it's just, I haven't seen a guy get worse throughout the season in a long time, to be honest. Jalen Milroe has gotten worse throughout the season. That's not the Jalen Milroe I saw in the Georgia game. Not even close. It was 4 quarters of bad football. And to be honest right now, Kalen DeBoer, you're in trouble.
For next year?
I hope you know.
What does trouble mean, Blaine?
Yeah, define trouble.
That you better make it to the playoff next year.
I don't think that's crazy.
You better make it to the playoff next year, or they'll kick your ass to the curb.
You lose to Auburn too on the road?
You need to know where you are, buddy. You're in Russia. Okay? Russian planes don't crash. All right? Alabama wins football games. That's what you lost to a bunch of second stringers.
Yeah.
You lost to a bunch of backups, and you played everybody. And Davis Warren got hurt.
Yeah.
Got hurt.
Michigan literally couldn't throw a forward pass. Not just like they didn't throw it.
You have coaches running into referees on the sidelines on 3rd and 12s. Nick Saban would have killed somebody on national television. But hey, Kevin DeBoer, sorry guys, get to the sidelines. It's all right. I'm telling you right now, it's a problem. I know these fans. I know these people. They're not going to wait another year.
Well,
how much trouble is he in?
I think the level of prove it has gone up. Here, think about this, guys. He beat Georgia, he beat LSU, and he beat Auburn. But this season is viewed as a massive failure because this is why because it's easy to sit here and say, yeah, you got to have balls, man. You can't be afraid to take that job after Nick Saban when you're not the one that has to do it. To Blaine's point, you basically entered Mission Impossible. This is Mission Impossible. There is no way. Kalen DeBoer, I think he's a really good football coach. He ain't Nick. I don't think anybody ever will be. I don't think you'll ever be able to have that much control. You left a perfect situation at Washington. Perfect. The fans, they have a standard there, but you played what? In that in the national championship game. Like you're in the Big Ten. You're at a big time place. You can recruit there. You got NIL money. You decided to follow Darth Vader. That's what you decided to do. And it's going to be impossible because guess what? The Empire fans, they're not happy unless the whole planet they're fighting explodes. It's not okay to win a battle.
Yeah.
You sure as hell can't lose to Vandy. So as far as Jalen Milroe, Blaine, he went Benjamin Button, and not in a good way. He went Benjamin Button. From an older, smart guy, regressed. Now he just looks like the new Jalen Milroe, baby Jalen Milroe. He hasn't gotten older. He's gotten younger. And it's for a couple reasons. One, you got to put it on Jalen Milroe. He had guys open in that game down the field. He was not knowing what he was seeing. He did not know what he saw.
They were open.
They were open. Jeremy Bernard was about to have a seizure on the field. He was so pissed at Jalen Milroe. How many times he was open, especially on those deep crossers. But also, whatever teaching is going on, that's on that as well. Jalen Milroe's an older guy. He should know that. But this just seems like this system does not fit Jalen Milroe at all. And how you remember at the beginning of the year, we're like, well, Alabama needs to fit the system. They need to tailor the system to Jalen Milroe. We even, when we talked to Kalen DeBoer at the Senior Bowl, said, I've got to adjust my system to Jalen Milroe. Here's where I think the problem is. I don't think Kalen DeBoer was Superman. I think Ryan Grubb was. I think Kalen DeBoer just put on the Superman outfit and walked around and people pointed while the real Superman was in the lab with a pen and a pad trying to get this damn label off. That's what I think. I think Ryan Grubb took one look at Jalen Milroe and said, how quick can I get to the Seahawks? How quick can I get back to Washington? I am starting to think, and we need more sample size. And I know Ryan Grubb wasn't with, Kalen DeBoer when he was at Blind Woman State or whatever it was, or like the City Council of Minneapolis Tech or wherever he was before that. But I'm starting to think maybe it was Ryan Grubb with the side of Kalen DeBoer, not Kalen DeBoer with a side of Ryan Grubb. That's what I'm starting to think.
Well, obviously, this one is tough for me because one of my best friends is the offensive coordinator. I have family members on this staff now, and none of them are confused about what the standard is at Alabama. Trust me, they know. But it's one thing to know what the standard is, and it's another thing to live up to it. And keep in mind, just earlier this very year, Alabama lost to Michigan too, and that was with Nick Saban as their head coach. Everything you're saying, though, I think you're right on track when we start talking about the specifics of Jalen Milroe and this system. Remember, I think the Superman that we're talking about is Michael Penix Jr. was throwing to 3 NFL wide receivers on that Washington staff. And Michael Penix Jr. is already coming for the Falcons and showed that he belongs. So we've always said, man, everything that Kalen DeBoer wants to do from an offensive standpoint doesn't really, like Jalen Milroe's really not the type of guy to do that. At the same time, he finished 6th in the Heisman Trophy voting in Nick Saban's last year. He's going to be the starting quarterback. Maybe they can tailor this offense around him and get the most out of him. And for a lot of games, it looked like that. I still think Alabama's first half against Georgia was as impressive of a performance as I've seen in the entirety of the LSU game, as impressive as I've seen. Go back and look at that Oklahoma tape. The players didn't play good. This game this was a disaster against Michigan. And so Nick Sheridan's going to take a lot of the blame, and Kalen DeBoer is going to take a lot of the blame. I'm looking down the field. I'm seeing guys that are open. Jalen Milroe's not hitting them. How much of that is because the teaching is off, like you're talking about, and how much of that is the players just aren't executing? I don't know. I don't know what, Blaine, you said Kalen DeBoer is going to be in trouble if they don't make the college football playoff next year. I think that there's an element of that that's accurate. I mean, if you don't make a playoff that's tripled in size 2 years in a row at Alabama, the pressure is going to do nothing but mount up.
Alabama fans, Ohio State fans, they're in the same realm. Ryan Day's won 11 games almost every year, 10 games. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. Alabama wins championships. They definitely don't lose to a bunch of second stringers in the ReliaQuest Bowl when we play a bunch of starters.
Yeah, but Blaine, the difference is Ryan Day, and you're right about Ohio State and Alabama fans having that same standard, right? That same fanaticism, which is a great thing. Right. I think it can move you forward. It can set you back some, but at the end of the day, it moves you forward. But Ryan Day had built up equity with the Ohio State fans. He had beaten Michigan before, right? Kalen DeBoer's done nothing for Alabama fans because they as much as I want to sit here as a guy from Auburn, and y'all know we always call it straight on Alabama. Either way, I picked them to beat Auburn. They did. But as much as I want to think Alabama just cares about Auburn before championships, not anymore. Just not anymore. That's not the truth. The truth is Auburn cares about Alabama more than Alabama cares about Auburn. And that's okay because Alabama has won these national championships. Just beating a bad Auburn team at home does not move the needle. Does not move the needle. You didn't make the playoff. They're watching Ohio State. They're watching Texas. They're watching Georgia, and they're just getting more pissed and more pissed and more pissed and more pissed. And then Michigan beats you in the ReliaQuest, .com bowl or whatever with basically nobody and me at quarterback. There's no equity. As I said when he got the job, the Alabama fans do not care how many games he won at Sioux Falls. They do not care how great he did at Washington. That did nothing for them. He has not delivered for them so far, and it's only 1 year. And yes, it's unfair, but you knew it was unfair when you signed up, and you're still at Alabama. But here's the problem. We're moving in a new era. How long until that Alabama brand is not viewed at the levels they were in the past? That's what scares Bama fans the most. Don't get anything twisted. They feel like they're regressing back to the common man. It's like I'm watching Wolf Hall, right? This series about King Henry in the court. You know what the people in the court worry the most about? Losing favor with the king because they get sent out back with the blacksmith's boy. That's what they're worried about at Alabama. They've got to walk around and eat all the steak and grapes and wines and have all the jewels and diamonds. But now they're worried they're going to find themselves out in the market selling cinnamon and oranges.
So what's Jalen Milroe going to do? What's Jalen Milroe going to do? Because it sounds like he played his last game at Alabama. Am I wrong?
I think, David, do they want him back?
I know he's going to do NIL videos in the tunnel before the game instead of warming up.
Do they want him back?
I saw that too. No, of course. In this moment right here, like I just said a minute ago, college football fans overreact in the moment more than any other sport. Every Alabama fan on the planet right now doesn't want Jalen Milroe back because they're only thinking about these last couple performances and not some of the good things that he's done. That doesn't make them wrong, though, right? And especially when we're talking about the type of system that Kalen DeBoer wants to run. What I'm asking, though, is this the grass is always greener situation? All of a sudden next year, they've moved on from Jalen Milroe. They don't have a solid plan to come in and play quarterback that's going to be better, even though it may fit the system better. And all of a sudden you're looking down and you're 9-4 again.
You go ahead, Blaine, because I got something I got something I want to say on this. I just want to double check something.
I think Jalen Milroe is a good quarterback. I think his ceiling is extremely high. I'd take him at Auburn in a heartbeat. Well, what worries me the most, and to be honest, with this Kalen DeBoer situation is like you still have Nick Saban's guys, right?
Yeah.
If there's ever a year, your first year, and I know Nick Saban lost some games in his first year, but that's a lot different roster than what he had, than what Kalen DeBoer has this year. You had the talent, you had the guys, and you lost games you shouldn't have lost. So I just don't know if it's going to get better from here, and I don't know if losing Jalen Milroe is going to help. You still have Ryan Williams and all these guys. Are they going to stay? It's just Kalen DeBoer. He's in tough water right now. In the Jalen Milroe situation, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the last game.
Well, Jake? Here's what I think is going to happen, because I'm looking at the draft boards and like Jalen Milroe's like, who has a chance to make a lot of money? I think is Jackson Dart in this bowl game, because if you look at Carson Beck kind of falling down. You look at Jalen Milroe. I think they had him as the 5th overall. Mel Kiper, who, don't even get me started on that guy. I think he's a vampire anyway. But he had him as like his 5th overall quarterback. I don't know if Jalen Milroe, if it's the right time for him to enter the NFL draft right now. Here's what I think is going to happen. I think he transfers to Miami. I think since Caden Salter went to Colorado, he's going to transfer to Miami. I think Jalen Milroe will be Miami's quarterback next year. That's what I think. Because when you bring up the system, you're exactly right. Jalen Milroe in Auburn's system, the RP, I think he'd be a monster. He'd be a monster. Jalen Milroe in Gus Malzahn's system, absolute monster. Jalen Milroe in really Kalen DeBoer and Diet Ryan Grubb's system, I don't think it's going to work. I think you're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, and you have to make the decision, well, do I change my offense to fit Jalen Milroe for another year? Or do I finally bring in a guy and start building my personnel the way I want it to fit my system? I think they're going to choose the latter. I think the better question is, does Jalen Milroe go to the NFL or does he transfer? I don't know why Miami just seems right to me, but since Mateer went to Oklahoma, I'm wondering if we could see Jalen Milroe maybe to Miami, or maybe even, we'll see what happens with Carson Beck, but he declared for the NFL draft. So I know you can come
look,
back
I don't
now.
see. That's an interesting thought to Miami. I don't see Jalen Milroe as being a franchise quarterback. I've been wrong on guys before, though, but I will say if there's ever a time to go out in a draft class, it would be this one. This ain't a year ago, right? With 6 quarterbacks in the top 12, and all of them are playing, except J.J. McCarthy's injured right now. All of them are playing. All of them are playing well. This is the year where you would go out. I mean, I don't think this draft class is as deep as others that we have seen.